أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. اللهم أصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا وأصلح لنا آخرة التي إليها معادنا واجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر. It's Abdullah bin Mas'ud?
Amr.
Huh?
Abdullah ibn Amr.
Oh, Abdullah bin Amr ibn al-As. So, قال الإمام النووي رحمة الله عليه عن أبي عبد الله عمرو بن العاص عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: 4 من كن فيه كان منافقا. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. وإن كانت خصلة منهن فيه كانت فيه خصلة من النفاق حتى يدعها. من إذا حدث كذب وإذا وعد أخلف وإذا اؤتمن خان وإذا خاصم فجر. Right? Did I say that in the wrong order? وإذا حدث كذب وإذا وعد أخلف وإذا عاهد غدر وإذا اؤتمن خان. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. Is that right?
وإذا خاصم الفجر, you said that, yeah.
I did? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So إذا حدث كذب وإذا خاصم فجر
وإذا وعد أخلف
وإذا خاصم فجر وإذا اؤتمن خان
وإذا
خاصم فجر وإذا اؤتمن خان
وإذا عاهد
غدر. Okay, وإذا اؤتمن خان is another hadith. So Rawah Muslim, right?
Yes.
So the Prophet ﷺ, he says here, أربع من كن فيه كان منافقا. So there are 4 things that if you have all 4 of these things, then you are a hypocrite. Okay? So this hypocrisy, so we were talking about yesterday about hypocrisy, and hypocrisy, we mentioned that there's 2 types, right? What are the 2 types of hypocrisy? Aqadi and Amali. Very good. Walaikum assalam. So there's Aqadi and then there's Amali, right? Aqadi is in your belief. Okay? Hypocrisy in your belief. So basically that's somebody that says that I'm a Muslim, but they're not. But in reality, they're not. Amali is a hypocrisy in your actions, where you are making it seem like you are this type of person, but in reality, you're not. You're actually a very bad person. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that.
Are we going to start Hadith or Hadith?
No, Hadith number 48.
Oh, okay. What is this?
So we have 48, 49, and 50. So 3 hadith left.
Okay.
What's that?
My book's not arrived yet.
Of Riyadh al-Salihin?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Couple of days.
Well, the first one is the first hadith of Riyadh al-Salihin is a hadith we've already covered.
Yeah, that's correct. Having the book is good.
Anyways, so we talked about what a hypocrite is. Okay? So the first type of hypocrite is a kafir. He's not a Muslim. The second type of hypocrite is a Muslim. It's important to understand that. He is a Muslim. But there are issues. And it's important also to understand that that type of hypocrite, that type of hypocrite who is a Muslim, the companions were afraid that they were that type. Right? Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he used to run behind Hudayfa ibn Yaman radiallahu anhu, asking him, am I on that list? Because the Prophet ﷺ, he gave the list of the hypocrites to Hudayfa. Okay? So Umar radiallahu anhu and a lot of the companions were afraid that they were on that list.
You remember when we were doing this, that with the hadith, I was thinking about, like, they were like, not
So that-
certain. So charity was not in their heart, like whether they're gonna consider us a munafiq or not. That's what I was
Okay,
getting at.
so the question is, because yesterday we were talking about nervousness and how that is not a characteristic of a believer, right? And then you're asking, how is that the case when Umar radiallahu anhu, he was worried that he was going to be from the hypocrites. So the nervousness or the fear or the trepidation that the believers have is for the day of judgment. It's from Allah. It's about the fear of Allah, not about anything else. Right? Everything else, it's no big deal. Right? They are afraid of Allah. They are nervous of meeting Allah, but nothing else. Does that make sense? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَأَمِنُوا مَكْرَ اللَّهِ. Do they feel safe about Allah's punishment? فَلَا يَأْمَنُوا مَكْرَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ. The only ones who feel safe from Allah's punishment are the losers. So, if someone has this idea that, oh yeah, I pray my prayers, I'm good, then that's a scary situation. Because we have to fear Allah. And fearing Allah should be a constant state that we are thinking that we are not enough and that we need to be better. This hypocrite is the type of person, right, that thinks he's good. He thinks my actions are good enough. Again, we're talking about a Muslim. Okay? This hadith is about the hypocrite that is in amali, in his actions. So this is a Muslim. We're not talking about a kafir. We're talking about a Muslim. Obviously, the kafir has this as well. But we're talking about the lower level. Okay? So the Prophet ﷺ says, if he has all four of these, then he is a hypocrite. But if he has some of it, or even one of these, then he has remnants of hypocrisy until he leaves it. May Allah protect us from this. Right? The first one is that when he speaks, he lies. When he speaks, he lies, meaning every word out of his mouth is a lie. Right? This is scary. Because the reason this is scary is lying. Like Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, on the day of judgment, people are going to go to him and say, Ibrahim, save us. You are Khalilullah. You are one of Allah's favorite messengers. Save us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment. You know what he's going to say? He's going to say, I lied. And he's going to say, I lied 3 times. I lied. He knows how many times he lied. Do we know how many times we lied? Astaghfirullah. right? There was this one sheikh, he said, you'll find most people, they lie 3 times in an hour, certain amount of times in a day, right? So if you ask them how many times they lie, nobody would know that. Nobody would know the answer to that. But Ibrahim, alayhi salatu wasalam, he was afraid that he was going to the hellfire because he lied 3 times. 3 times, that's it. And even those lies, they were not really lies. Right? So those lies, they were things that he told the people for Allah. He wasn't like doing it for himself. He was trying to, like, for example, when they asked him when he broke down all the idols and he left the big one, and he put the axe on that big one, they said, who did it? He said the big one did it. And he said that to show them how stupid they are, right? But to show them that it is Allah that they need to worship. So it wasn't like he made this lie for himself, right? And he was afraid, right? So the Prophet ﷺ, he says the hypocrite, which is the lowest level of a Muslim, right? This person, every time he speaks, he lies. Every time he speaks, he lies. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that someone can lie and continue to lie, meaning when he lies, it leads to other lies. And then it causes him to continue lying, and then that lying goes down a very far path until he's written with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a liar. Right? And you know, a liar is what a kafir is. Kafir is a liar. So you're taking, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from this. This person is taking this trait that is a very important trait in a kafir, and he's using that for himself. So this is the first trait of a hypocrite. Man إذا حدث كذب. وإذا وعد أخلف. Is that the next one? وإذا وعد أخلف. And the second one is that when he promises, he breaks that promise, or he doesn't fulfill the promise. So again, this person constantly breaks his promise. Constantly breaks his promise. Because he said, وَإِذَا وَعَدَ أَخْلَفَ, meaning every single time that he promises, he always breaks it. Meaning he has no word. So we're understanding also the opposite for a believer. Right? The highest level of a believer, he never lies. The highest level of a believer always has, what do you call it? So we also understand from that a believer is always calm. A believer never goes crazy. A believer always keeps his cool. SubhanAllah. It's when you read this hadith, subhanAllah, or when I read this hadith, it's almost as if it's describing myself. And it's scary. Because, subhanAllah, these issues, they may seem insignificant. We have to take this, especially this hadith, very seriously, because and me first of all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Because all of these traits, having remnants of these traits, are extremely dangerous. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from being amongst the munafiqeen. Any questions about the hadith? All right, let's go to the next one.
What number is the next one?
49. تفضل.
قال المؤلف رحمه الله عن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لو أنكم توكلون على الله حق توكله لرزقكم كما يرزق الطير خماصا
تغدو خماصا
كما تغدو
لرزقكم كما يرزق الطير تغدو خماصا
وتروح بطانا. رواه أحمد والترمذي والنسائي وقال الترمذي حسن صحيح.
So, excuse me. Prophet ﷺ, he says here that if you had tawakkul on Allah the way you are truly supposed to have tawakkul. So we talked about tawakkul a lot, and let's talk about it again. First of all, tawakkul is one of the most virtuous acts that we can have. And this is the action of the heart. Depending on Allah, it's one of the most virtuous acts that we can have. As a matter of fact, the people who perfected tawakkul, the people who have perfect tawakkul, they go to Jannah on the Day of Judgment with no questions asked. It's like they have a VIP card. There's no questions asked because their tawakkul is perfect. So the more perfect we get our tawakkul, that puts us in the place of the prophets, of the most righteous. It puts us with them. Okay? So it is the most وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون وعلى الله فتوكلوا إن كنتم مؤمنين وعلى الله فليتوكل المتوكلون ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه. Whoever depends on Allah, then that is sufficient for him. He doesn't need anything else. Depending on Allah has two parts. Part number one is what? What's the first part of depending on Allah?
Having trust in His decree.
Trust in His decree. Yeah.
Do the action first, whatever you have to do.
Well, before the action. So we have to believe that Allah is in complete control.
That's what I meant.
Right. That He is in control of everything. Right? And there's nothing that I can do to change that. Okay? So if I believe, and we talked about this yesterday, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was passing by a lady who was breastfeeding. And he asked the companions, he said, will that lady ever hurt that baby? They said, of course not, Ya Rasulullah. Right? So first of all, a baby who's breastfeeding is the most innocent type of human being ever. And so can anybody love someone more than a mother loves that little infant? No, not possible. No one on this planet can love anything more than that mother loves that infant. Right? No one can look out for anyone more anywhere on the planet more than that mother looks out for that infant. Yes or no? Okay. That infant, as long as that infant is in that mother's care and that mother is doing what she can to take care of that baby, nothing is ever going to happen to that baby. I mean, obviously, things happen in life. She doesn't have complete control. But if she had complete control, this baby would have the best everything in every possible way. Yes or no? There is nobody who would take care of this baby better. Yes? The Prophet ﷺ, he asked the companions, is that lady going to harm that baby? They said, of course not, Ya Rasulullah. He said, Allah is more merciful on us than that mother is on her baby. So Allah is more merciful. Does that make sense? So let's imagine for a second, now this baby is breastfeeding. Okay? This baby is feeling in their orbit. There's no better place the baby can be in this than in this breastfeeding place. Right? So this is the safest, best, whatever you want to call it, place that this baby can possibly ever be. Right? Well, we are in this position, but better with the one who created us all the time. All the time. Every day, every hour, every second. Like the only reason we're able to breathe the next breath that we take is because Allah allowed it. Allah gave it to us. The only reason our heart is able to beat another beat is because Allah made it beat. Right? The only reason we're able to, I don't know, open our eyes is because Allah gave us that ability. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is in complete control of everything. So this is the first and most important part to believe when it comes to tawakkul, depending on Allah. So if I need to, for example, I need to bring money for my family, right? Who is it that gives me food and gives my family food? Allah. So therefore, I need to depend on Him to give it. Understood? So I have to have that belief that it is Allah who gives that. Okay? If I want to go to the masjid, right? That it is Allah who will provide for me to help me do my job in going to the masjid. Right? Whatever it is that's going to help me, I have to believe that. When Allah told Musa alayhi salatu wasalam to leave Fir'aun and take Bani Israel with you, right? And to leave at night, Allah gave him the description of exactly when to leave. So he leaves with Bani Israel. And as they're leaving, okay, they get to the ocean. Bani Israel, they're like, he's going to kill everybody. Probably in the most heinous way. Right? This is what Fir'aun does. So Bani Israel was like, we're caught. Musa ﷺ said, no. Allah is with me. This is the first part of tawakkul. Allah is with me. He will found. There's Fir'aun right there, and there's the ocean right there. What are you going to do? You going to swim across the ocean? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. Musa knows Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam. Because he knows Allah, it doesn't matter what it seems like you can't do. Allah is the one who's completely capable. And he told Musa to leave. So he's doing what Allah told him to do. So of course Allah is going to guide me because He's in control. Not me. Not Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Not Fir'aun. Not anyone else. And not Israel. right? They're not in control. Allah is. Right? So the second part of tawakkul is to use the means, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of the sunnah of Allah, when He created the heavens and the earth, He created within it the means. Okay, some scholars, they say, why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and earth in 6 days? Because when He was creating it, He created all of the means within it. This is what some scholars say, is that the means were created within it. And the means, it takes time. Like, why does it take time for you to accomplish something? Because this is the nature of means, right? Or the resources. The nature of resources is that it takes time to get there. Like if I want to go from A to B, I want to walk, okay? Doesn't matter where it is, it's gonna take whatever time, those steps that I need to take to get there. The speed that I'm moving, regardless of whether it's the speed that I'm moving, my height, the how big steps I can take, so on and so forth. So regardless of the situation, it's going to take me time to get there, right? That's weird in order to do something. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and the earth, He created the means within it, and those means and those resources take time, right? So therefore, when we depend on Allah and we believe that He gives us, we have to understand that what Allah gives us is the resources and the means. Okay? This is the sunnah of this world. Allah gives us the resources and the means. Like when Allah told Maryam after she had the baby, after she had Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, right? So she was going through post-labor, what do you call it? Post-labor, is that what it's called? Postpartum, right? So when she's going through this pain, all these issues that women go through when they have a baby, Allah tells her, shake the tree. She needs to eat, she's hungry.
Was it postpartum or during labor?
It was after.
Oh.
Yeah. So He tells her to shake the tree. She's hungry, right? And also this is the weakest state of a woman, right? This is her weakest position ever, and yet He's telling her to shake a tree that even the strongest of any type of person can't move it, can't budge it, right? This tree, the date palm tree, it's immovable, right? So He tells her to shake the tree, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense though. Why would she have to shake it when Allah could just drop the dates? The dates are there. He could just drop it, right? But no, the sunnah of this world is that you always have to explore the means. So Allah provided, He made the means easy. So now when she shook the tree, the means was easy such that it fell. But she had to do something. It was needed. Why? Because this is how the world works. Same thing. We were talking about eating, right? Because there are people out there who are going to say, yeah, I depend on Allah. I don't want to go to work. Right? I don't need to make money. Allah is going to provide for me. Right? So there was a sheikh who, when somebody asked him this, and he said, yeah, sheikh, Allah will provide for me. I don't need to go to work. He said, okay, that's fine. He said, here, let me give you some food. He said, but don't put your hand in it and don't bring it to your mouth. He said, and then when, okay, so now when you don't put your hand in it and you don't bring it to your mouth, when the food jumps into your mouth, don't chew it, right? And now that the food chewed itself, right? He says, don't swallow it. Right? Let Allah do all of that. Does that make sense? But no, that doesn't. The thing is that when Allah created everything in this world, He created the means. He created the resources and the means. Right? So therefore, depending on Allah has two parts. Number one is to believe that it is Allah who's in complete control. It is Allah who gives. It is Allah who takes. It is Allah who's in charge of all of that. And number two is that you have to explore the means. Right? So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when he reached the ocean, and Bani Israel, they said, uh-oh, we're done. Right? They caught us. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said, no, emphatically no. Allah is with me and He will guide me. Right? So then Allah told him to take your stick and hit the ocean. And then it opened up. Right? His stick didn't do anything. But Allah told him to do whatever was in his capability. He still had to explore the means, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's doing everything anyways. But you always have to do something. Right? So this is depending on Allah. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says in this hadith that if you depended on Allah, the true way that you're supposed to depend on Him, if you truly depended on Him, then He would bless you, He would give you rizq. And we talked about what is rizq. Rizq is everything that is beneficial, right? Just like He gives rizq to the birds. The birds, they go out hungry and they come back full. Right? When the bird leaves the nest, they have no clue where they're going to get the food from. But they go. And when they come back, they're full. And they probably have worms for their babies too. Right? Some scholars, they say that the reason the Prophet ﷺ used the example of the bird, because he could have used an elephant, he could have used a giraffe, and the list goes on, right? There's a lot of things that the Prophet ﷺ could have used to show that Allah blesses when you just do. Allah blesses you when you just do. Right? But they say the reason that the Prophet ﷺ used the bird is because the bird, they say, eats the most. There's no animal that eats more than the bird compared to their body weight, because they burn so much when they fly. Right? So because the bird is burning so much when they fly, they have to eat so much. And I don't remember exactly what the amount is that they have to eat. There's a percentage of their body that they have to eat every day, and it's a lot compared to their body. There's no other animal that eats as much as the bird does, as far as I understand. Right? So therefore, they need the most sustenance compared to their body weight, but yet Allah is still providing for them. Right? So, in order to get this, though, is that you have to depend on Allah truly. And depending on Allah truly, again, is two things. Number one is understanding that it is Allah who provides. It is Allah who is giving. It is Allah who is taking. It's not your job. It's not a certain salary. It's not your parents, your spouse, the list goes on. These people are only means. They're only resources. right? Allah is the one who is actually providing. It is not these people. Okay? And this is I wouldn't say the most important part of it, but it is the first component, right? But it is not the only component, because there's they say la ifrat wa la tafrit, right? There's you can go to two extremes. One extreme is that a person thinks that my job is where I'm getting my money. And if I lose my job, I lose the world. There's no way I'm gonna provide for my family or whatever it is that I need to do with that money. There's no way I'm gonna do it because I lost my job. Right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that mentality and forgive us for any shortcomings we have in that. Because unfortunately this is a difficult mindset to fight, but nonetheless this is the correct mindset because it is Allah who provides. It is not us. It is not the job, it is not anything else. Okay? So that is a messed up mentality for someone to think, oh, I need this job in order to survive. Right? The other mentality that's wrong is, yeah, I don't need to work. I don't need to put in effort. I don't need to do anything because it is Allah who provides. Right? So I'm just going to, wait for Allah to give me what I need. Right? That's also the wrong mentality. That's also the completely wrong mentality, because just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides, He also created the means for those provisions. And it is our job to explore those means. For Maryam, the mean was to basically almost touch the tree. Right? For Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, the means was to hit the ocean with his staff. Right? But for everybody has different means. Everybody has a different, whatever your means is, you know what it is. Your job is to go do that. Right? And if you think about this example as well, this bird, the Prophet ﷺ described it as it leaves hungry and it comes back full. Right? So some scholars say, and the obligation of providing is on the man, is on the husband or the father or the basically the man of the household. The obligation of providing is on him. So therefore, right, the man should not have the mentality of, I'm not making, or I don't have a job, let me stay home. Right? Because again, in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ described it as it leaves hungry and it comes back full. Doesn't know where it's going, doesn't know what it's getting, but it's leaving. And that leaving is very important. Does that make sense? That leaving, and especially in today's society, doesn't necessarily mean that you actually have to leave. Right? Because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of work from home. There's a lot of stuff that's going on online, right? But nonetheless, there is effort that you're going out to, right? And you're putting in that effort towards a job, towards whatever it is that you're doing, whatever resources that you're exploring. You're putting effort towards that, and it is Allah who gives the worms, right? It is Allah who gives those provisions. So understand that, yeah, you might have to go look under 50 rocks in order to find one worm, right? But you need to flip those rocks, right? You need to do the effort that needs to be done in order for you to get that, right? And this, depending on Allah, is in this example, is in terms of provisions, but it's in terms of everything, right? Because in the example of Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, where she was getting provisions, right? In the example of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam also, there's many examples of this happening with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he left Mecca, they had 100 camels on his head. Meaning whoever brought the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, dead or alive, they would get 100 camels. Right? That's a lot of money, even today. So the Prophet ﷺ, what did he do? He hired someone who knows the way to basically, so you have Mecca, you have Medina, right? North and south. South. Mecca's south, Medina's north. So he found somebody who's going to take him this way and then go around. Right? Like go back, go more south, and then come north, right? And he was with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. He paid this guy. So they had a big plan that they're going to do it. They're going to do this, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do this. They're going to go hide in the cave for a while. And then, right? So he's doing all the means. Allah told him to leave. Just like Allah told Musa alayhi salatu wasalam to leave. Right? So now he's leaving. He's gone. The first time, they're in the cave, they're looking for him, and then they don't see him, even though they're like right there. Right? Allah blinded them, even though they were like right there. Another time, they were leaving a tribe, passing by a tribe, and one of the guys in the tribe noticed him. Noticed the Prophet ﷺ. But he didn't tell his people because he wanted the 100 camels to himself. Right? So he let him leave. And then when he left, he gets on his horse and he goes behind them to go catch him. So as he's riding on his horse and he's going, his horse's legs sink into the ground and he falls off the horse. So he gets back on the horse and he goes again. And as he goes again, they sink into the ground again. So he gets up, he does it again, and he goes, and they sink into the ground again. So he finally realizes, there's no way I'm going to kill this man. So I give up. So now he's going to him with an open heart, and he's able to reach him. So when he reached the Prophet ﷺ, he told him what happened, and he became Muslim. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ, he did all the means that he could, that was in his capability, to abide by what Allah told him to do, to leave and go to Medina. Right? So he did all the means, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was protecting him every step of the way. The Prophet ﷺ could not have planned for this guy to see him and know. The Prophet ﷺ could not have planned for Quraysh to actually come that close to seeing him. Right? So that's the thing, is that our job is to do the means. Our job is to explore the means, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who provides, the one who takes care of us, so on and so forth. Any questions on that hadith?
So I guess that becomes difficult when you're taking the means and you don't get the outcome that you thought you were going to get. I think that's when the tawakkul becomes difficult, right? Like, then you have to kind of recalibrate and think that that's, and try to tell yourself that that's love it and that's the way it should have been, correct?
And so that's why it's important to do istikhara. To ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you to what is best, and if it's best to give it to you, and if it's bad to take it away from you, and then make you happy with it if it was bad. Right? Because sometimes you might want something really badly. You might be thinking, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And you really think it's best for you. You really think Allah wants it, that this is best and most pleasing to Allah. It's taken away from you. You can't have it for some reason or other. Right? So because you were not granted it is a sign that it wasn't best for you if you made istikhara. So that it kind of eases your heart and makes you feel okay that, yeah, that wasn't best for me. Does that answer the question? All right. Let's do the last hadith, inshallah.
عن عبد الله بن بسر قال أتى النبي صلى الله
عليه
عليه
الصلاة والسلام.
وسلم رجل فقال يا رسول الله إن شرائع الإسلام قد كثرت علينا فباب تتمسك به جامع
نتمسك.
نتمسك به جامع قال لا يزال لسانك رطبا من ذكر الله عز وجل رواه أحمد.
So, Al-Imam al-Nawawi, rahmatullahi alayh, he put together 42 ahadith. And those 42 ahadith, the purpose of it was to give us the basics of Islam. The basics of Islam, of our belief system. Right? It's kind of almost as if it's an introduction to what we believe. Okay? However, there is a lot more to discuss in all of these topics that we've already discussed. Okay? So Ibn Rajab, rahmatullahi alayh, he saw these 42 ahadith and he thought these 42 are amazing. But it would be helpful if I add 8 more. Okay? And as far as I can tell, and Allah knows best, is that Ibn Rajab kind of wanted to take these 8 and to make it a little bit more practical into what everything that we've learned in the first 42, to put it into a little bit of a more of a practicality aspect, right? And you can see that very obviously in the last hadith that we talked about, and depending on Allah and how the Prophet ﷺ compared that to a bird, right? So in this hadith, which is the last hadith in the book, Ibn Rajab, he mentions that this companion said that someone came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ya Rasulullah, there's a lot of stuff in Islam. And it kind of seems like the type of question one would ask when we're done with this book. Man, we learned a lot of stuff. So how do we, what can we do to put all that together? Get all of that into one thing. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا يزال لسانك رطبا من ذكر الله. Meaning that your tongue should always stay wet with the remembrance of Allah. And that is the culmination of everything in this book. Right? Let's think about, for example, intentions. Right? The first hadith where we learned about intentions, how intentions are everything. Well, if you're always remembering Allah, you're always thinking about Allah, then you're always intending Allah. Right? Let's think about the 5 pillars of Islam. Right? The Shahada. Right? So believing in Allah and His Messenger. If you're always thinking about Allah, no brainer. Right? Salah. If you're always thinking about Allah, you always want to pray. Right? Zakah. If you're always thinking about Allah, zakah is a no-brainer. Does that make sense? Fasting and Hajj, so on and so forth. All of these, right? Good manners. If you're always thinking about Allah, you want to do what's most pleasing to Him. This is the culmination of all of this. And this, remembering Allah, should help you do more good. Remembering Allah should help you stay more away from evil. Right? So a believer, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from amongst them, is someone who is constantly trying to remember Allah. There's this a book, Fortress of the Muslim, which is called in English and Arabic, Hisnul Muslim. I strongly suggest everyone have this book. In this book, It's a small booklet. Okay? And in this book, it has the basics of what the Prophet ﷺ used to say in everything in any situation in his life. When he went into the bathroom, when he went into the masjid, when he got onto his ride, his camel, when he wore new clothes, when he went to sleep, when he woke up, when he wanted to pray, right? When he went into a store, so on and so forth. Everything is in it. It's also nice that we have an app. We have an app on your phone that has Hisnul Muslim. And I don't suggest anyone to sit there and start memorizing dua like that. Don't do that. What you do is take one thing that you do in a day. For example, let's say the easiest thing to do for me might be before I go to sleep. I'm just chilling. It takes me an hour to fall asleep anyways, right? So let me do all the adhkar the Prophet ﷺ used to do before he went to sleep. I read it. Just read it. You do that after a month, you'll find, oh, I memorized it. Because you're reading it every single day. After 2 months, after 3 months, you memorized it. All right, now you have one. There it is. It's in your pocket. You added that to your repertoire. Now, let's add something else. Right? And you keep doing that until you find yourself doing adhkar just like the Prophet ﷺ did it. In everything. Sitting, standing, moving, everything. You say exactly what the Prophet ﷺ, you're following him exactly like that. But you take it one step at a time. Little step at a time. Right? So with that, I mean, you'll find yourself, you memorize the whole book and no work. You're just reading it. Just reading it every day. But just take it a step like that at a time, as opposed to, I'm going to do this one, and then you burn out. You get tired. Because one day, oh man, I don't know if I want to do this. And then it messes you up psychologically. Then it messes all the other du'as up that you were doing. Right? There's the remembrance in the morning. Prophet ﷺ used to do morning remembrance after Fajr and before Dhuhr. Remembrance in the evening. He would do it after Asr and then before Isha. But some scholars even say, like, make it up if you miss it. Right? So on and so forth. So, this is the culmination of all of that. This is everything in all of that. Because remembering Allah is what is going to help you, bi'idhnillah, do more good. That is how you're trying to stay in Allah's grace. You're trying to stay in that state where Allah loves you. You're trying to reach that level of where Allah loves you. Like you know, sometimes you want to do a good deed and you're like, I just can't do it. I want to do it. I like that good deed, but I can't do it. By the way, you want to have the mentality of when you do a good deed is to be consistent with it, right? Not the person that you just do it once in a blue moon, right? Because Allah loves consistency. So the good deeds that we do and that we try to put into or implement into our lives, we want to try to have the consistency within those good deeds. Okay? So, a lot of times I'm thinking about that good deed, I'm just like, yeah, it's nice. I really want to do it. I just can't. I tried it. I stopped. I tried it. I stopped. I tried it. I stopped. Right? And this happens to all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. What sometimes is needed to get over that hump, because you have to understand, doing a good deed is not, do I have energy? Doing a good deed is not, what do you call it? Is it the right circumstances? Do I have enough money to do the good deed? No, no. Doing the good deed is, did Allah bless you to do the good deed? If Allah blessed you to do it, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, you're gonna do it. And if you're not blessed to do that good deed, then you won't be able to do it. So sometimes what's needed to get over that hump is remembering Allah. It's just saying Astaghfirullah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, right? A lot of times this is the only thing that is needed to remember Allah and remember Him a lot to get that good deed. Someone might say, oh, I want to memorize the Quran, for example, but it's too hard, right? Understand, memorizing the Quran is something Allah gives. I want to do this good deed and I want to do that good deed. This is something Allah gives. Allah is the one who gives it. Allah chooses this person to have it and this person to not have it. Okay? So in order to get that, you want to tell Allah, Ya Allah, please give it to me. You're calling on Allah to give it to me. Ya Allah, please give that good deed. I want it. Give it to me, Ya Allah, please. So then you're calling on Him and you're bringing this adhkar, these remembrances is hopefully bringing you up so that you can do that good deed. You're getting there. You're getting there. You're trying to get up there so that you can get that good deed. And then you'll notice, subhanAllah, you'll notice we're like, man, why couldn't I do this before? It's actually not that hard. But you're eventually going to realize ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. That is the blessing of Allah. He gives it to whom He pleases. And this is a very important mentality to understand when it comes to doing good deeds, is that this is what Allah gave. It's not, I'm special, I'm doing this good thing. Oh, I did this, I gave sadaqah. That, oh, mashallah, I love Allah so much because I gave so much sadaqah. No. Allah blessed you, first of all, with that money. Right? 2, Allah blessed you with the mentality that it's actually a good thing to give this money. Because most people, when they have that money, they're like, spend on this, put it in your pockets, hold those pockets tight. That's where most people are. Right? But Allah blessed you to say, no. Here. That came from Allah. It didn't come from you. Right? Also, Allah blessed you with the person to give it to. Right? There's also a lot of people out there, they might want to give money, but they can't find the right person. Right? There's a lot of things that go into that scenario that you were able to give that money. And obviously, I'm just using an example here. There's a lot of scenarios that went into that, but it all came from Allah. Right? So it's important to understand that whenever you're doing a good deed, this is something that Allah blessed you with. So use it in the right way. Use it in the way that's pleasing to Him. Don't become arrogant because you have that. Don't start to think that you're special because you did this good thing and you did that good thing. Right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to be from the people of good and the people who are constantly remembering Allah. So alhamdulillah, that's the conclusion of this book. Inshallah, we're going to start next week on Riyadh al-Salihin. Riyadh al-Salihin is the same author, Imam al-Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi. And as I mentioned to you as I mentioned before in the 40 Hadith, it's a very summarized look at the basics of Islam. Riyadh al-Salihin goes into a lot more detail. Again, both books, they don't have anything of his saying, or they do have a little bit, but almost all of it is Allah said, the Prophet ﷺ said. Actually, there's no Qala Allah in the 40 Hadith, right? Oh, there is.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
No, not, I'm not even talking about hadith Qudsi, but إن الله طيب لا يقبل إلا طيبا.
Right.
Yeah, in that hadith. There's
Pure, that's pure.
there's also another hadith, yes. Yeah, there is. So there is Quran in this hadith, in these hadith, but you're going to see it a lot more in Riyadh al-Salihin. And in Riyadh al-Salihin, the way he organized it is that he gives the name of the chapter, and that name of the chapter kind of tells you what the ruling is on the issue. We're not going to see that in the beginning. We're going to see it towards the middle because it's going to get more technical. Inshallah.
Are you gonna talk about him like just a short version of his story?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah, okay. I
Good
really
fish,
like no, it's just amazing to me.
So, so the order of the tartib in Riyadh al-Salihin is such that he gives the name of the chapter in regards to this subject, and then he says the Prophet ﷺ said this and that. So he starts with the Quran and then Hadith, and this was the practice of the companions, the tabi'een, and so on and so forth, and the scholars until now. So I love the book because, I mean, the chapter of it is Riyadh al-Salihin. Riyadh is gardens, right? Gardens of the righteous. And a garden is basically a place that you go relief, where you feel that the righteous people. This is where you get that in this book. That's what he's saying. And he mentions a poetry in the beginning of the book. He says, إِنَّ لِلَّهِ عِبَادًا فُطَنًا طَلَّقُوا الدُّنْيَا وَخَافُوا الْفِتَنَ نَظَرُوا فِيهَا فَلَمَّا عَلِمُوا أَنَّهَا لَيْسَتْ لِحَيٍّ وَطَنًا اتخذوها لجة جعلوها لجة واتخذوا صالح الأعمال فيها سفنا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has servants that are intelligent, futana, witty, I think is the exact translation of fatin. So Allah has servants that are intelligent, right? They divorced this world, right? Because they were afraid of the fitna, the trials, the tribulations, the difficulties of this world. So therefore they divorced it. And what does it mean to divorce something? Right? You're gone. I want nothing to do with you. They have nothing to do with this world. Right? And we're going to understand exactly what this means later on, because we're going to get into the chapter of Zuhd. Okay? And we're going to get into that in in a lot of detail, inshallah. But they divorced this world because of the fitan of it, the trials and the tribulations and the difficulties of this world, so therefore they divorced it. They want nothing to do with him. نَظَرُوا فِيهَا فَلَمَّا عَلِمُوا. They looked at this world and they realized that it's not for a person that is alive, that has life in them. أَنَّهَا لَيْسَتْ لِحَيٍّ وَطَنًا. Right? It's not for someone who has life. Life, and the life that he's talking about, there's a hadith to the effect of that. The Prophet ﷺ said something to the effect of that when you die is when you are alive, because you actually see now. Because the thing that we do with our eyes is not much seeing, because there's a lot more that's going on than what our eyes can see. Right? That's why we want the light of the Quran to give us that full, that bigger vision. That's not necessarily just with our eyes. Does that make sense? نظروا فيها فلما علموا أنها ليست لحي وطنا جعلوها لجة واتخذوا. So therefore they made this world like the ocean. They made the world like the ocean, and they used good deeds like you would use a boat in the ocean. They use good deeds in this world like you use a boat in the ocean. Okay? So basically, his point in mentioning this poetry was that these righteous people, right, are after these good deeds so that they can escape the world. The difficulties and trials and tribulations of the world, they escape it with these good deeds. Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahmatullahi alayhi, he said that we have so much richness, meaning scholars. He said, if the kings knew the amazing feeling that we have, the amazing life that we live, they would fight us to get that life that we have. He said, but they have no clue how much of a Jannah we're in. He also said that there is a Jannah in this world that if you don't taste it, you don't taste the Jannah of the next, the Jannah of ibadah, the Jannah of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, if you don't taste that Jannah in this world, you don't taste that Jannah in the next. So it is important for us to reach that level of feeling that we are in Jannah in this world by worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does that say 46 or 48?
46.
Okay. All right. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. We'll talk about the introduction more inshallah next class, but hopefully your books will be here by then.
Inshallah.
All right. Wa iyyakum. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Just the time I just